October 18th, 2021. The Wheel, filming in Burbank at Warner Brothers. Co-stars: Michael McIntyre, the host, and I gave his wiki link for all of these people. Terrell Owens from football, Deepak Chopra for the brain, Matt Eisman, medicine, Bree Z, rap, Raven Simone, child star. I flew to LAX and Ubered to Burbank on the 15th, filmed on the 16th, and flew home yesterday on the 17th. They paid me an obscene amount of money that I'm not going to disclose here to do the show, and another bonus to cover my choice of glam or travel expenses. So I did my own makeup and chose to apply it to the latter, which covered almost exactly. They had told me there wouldn't be an opportunity to talk about our ban on big cat cub handling, but I figured if people saw me, they'd think about the issue, and the money was good for about 2 hours of filming. I was at the studio for 7 hours, but most of that was in my dressing room, which was like a small, well-appointed apartment, complete with enough food to feed our volunteer force. I ate enough chocolate to make myself sick. If I never see chocolate again, that would be fine with me. Turns out that wasn't true, but I thought so at the time. Deepak, Terrell, Breezy, and Raven had no personality and were pretty much stone-faced on the set when we were supposed to be acting like, quote, we were having so much fun at the party that the viewers will be thinking to themselves how much they wanted to be here, which is what they were telling us they wanted it to be, unquote. Unquote, before I described that that's what they were telling us. Howie suggested that I channel Candy, and I did. The only other one to show any enthusiasm for the game was Matt, and I later learned who he was, and it made sense that he knew how to put on a show, after much ado about not being told he was to show up for the show in full dress and makeup, which meant we all had to sit around and wait for an hour. Other than putting on a sports coat, I didn't see a difference. The producer and co-producers pulled me aside to thank me for giving them something to work with, and said that the others saw me playing to the camera, and it seemed to help move them from trying to play it cool to at least opening up a bit. Deepak never got into it, but I'm not sure there's anyone home in there anymore. I talked to his handler, who said he's 75 and was freaked out by being here. We had to sit through them explaining how the game works 3 times because Deepak kept saying he didn't understand the game. I think he mostly didn't understand why he was playing the game. Probably the same reason as me, for the money. Some of the most comedic relief through the tedious gameplay was Deepak quoting things I'm sure he's said 1,000,000 times, which were pretty much unrelated to what was happening on stage, but Michael McIntyre is a real talent and was able to turn it to best effect. He was able to pick on each of us in a way that didn't come across as mean, which is hard in comedy, I think. During one of the breaks, he came up and told me I'm just the biggest celebrity ever in the UK. My mind went to the Bible passage, Mark 6:4, King James Version, quote, but Jesus said unto them, a prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his own kin and in his own house, unquote. He asked how I can ever step out into the public without being mobbed, and I told him that I try to go incognito whenever possible. Incredulous, he asked if that worked, and I had to admit that my attempts were usually foiled. Somehow people just knew. There's still a mania in the US for those who want to take selfies with me, from just about every Uber driver to everyone on the set of the shows or working security at the shows or the hotel staff, the COVID staff, etc. In addition to all those people who brazenly walk up and ask me for a posed shot with them in airports, restaurants, walking down the streets, in stores, etc., there are all the many more who try desperately not to look conspicuous as they point their phones at me. I have a pretty good periphery vision, which means I see a lot of them who think they are being slick. In California, that vision is really helpful given how many people drive a Prius. So many times I nearly stepped in front of one because I did not hear the approach. The most rabid fan this trip was Jody, who calls herself Pixie Dust because she wears sparkling dust on her face to ward off evil. She also creates secret fairy gardens for children, which are sort of like a diorama of fairies, tiny houses, plants, and such that she crafts by hand. She says she does it so they can have a safe place that is all their own. Sounds like she never felt that, and still doesn't. In between literally screaming at the top of her lungs every few sentences, quote, oh my God, I can't believe Carole Baskin is really in my car, unquote, She relayed losing her dogs to 2 loose Akitas as she cut her hands to the bone trying to pull his leash back to safety. She told me about her family and feeling unloved and the men in her life who abused her and how her customers are all so scary and call her to dangerous places and how plastic and fake Hollywood and Burbank are and how she's agoraphobic and that she only drives the graveyard shift to avoid most people possible. You're in a weird career path to be driving an Uber if you don't want to be around people. Jody said that she felt like I was her family because she had seen how I took on the bad guys and never backed down, and I gave her strength. She said after watching Tiger King, she wanted to make me jewelry or heart succulent plantings or a secret garden, but figured someone as famous as me would never even see my own mail. I told her that I read all of my mail, although it sometimes takes me a while to get to it. I told her about Cage Fight coming November 13th and said I hope it gives women over 50 a chance to see themselves as people who are still valuable and have much to give and do make the world a better place instead of feeling invisible. Ironically, the Uber driver before her was a young Ukrainian woman who was a vegan that had hidden her love of animals because she was so often criticized for it. After Tiger King, she said she felt inspired by me to speak up for animals again. I don't require a lot of encouragement to keep fighting animal abuse, but these revelations helped. Jamie and Victor did a lot around the property while I was gone too. Some of it I've seen, as they installed new ceiling fans and lights all around the outside. Victor fixed my broken tub spout and installed a rainfall-type shower head that I've always wanted. They installed motion detection lights outside so our path is lit from the minute we pull into the carport until we are inside. It's been pitch black and a stumbling hazard for Howie all these years. I really had let this place fall apart during the past couple of decades of pressing so hard for a federal bill. We are now at the cusp of getting it done in this last month before the holidays, and I think we can do it. We have 220 co-sponsors in the House and 32 in the Senate, with good bipartisan support in both. I saw on Facebook posts that Jamie and Victor moved a lot of fruit trees and bushes out to the field and are now calling it the orchard. Some of my transplanted sable palms are not doing well with only sprinklers for watering, so I'm going to head out there and see how it looks and do some watering and meditating for a while. If you're enjoying my diary, please like, share, and subscribe. You can find other ways to connect to me over at bigcatrescue.org/Carole.Baskin.